Hi, Lee. Nice to meet you, and thank you for joining me. How are you?
Hello, Joseph, and thank you for the opportunity to share my carnivore experience. I'm doing just well. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Lee, thanks again for being here. I really appreciate it. Lee, also, before we dive in, can you tell me a bit about yourself, how you found Carnivore? How did it all start for you?
Sure. I just turned 59 years old, and my whole life I kind of struggled with health. Even though I used to be very athletic, I was also often sick from early childhood. Headaches, sinus headaches. I was on antibiotics maybe every month, so I didn't feel that I was too healthy, and that went throughout my teenage years. Even had some sinus surgeries. It never really cleared, and when I was about 22, 23, I came with this great idea that probably the best thing that's going to help me would be a vegetarian lifestyle. That lasted 2 years of me being really strict. Well, back then it was my take on vegetarianism. I thought that being vegetarian meant just stop eating meat. I ate everything else, all the junk food, even though it wasn't that bad back then. And I was just skipping meat. Well, the results I was getting was that after 2 years of eating that, I started having blood clots in my legs. So that didn't seem to be the way, but I still kind of gravitated towards plant-based diet. And we can move forward another 20 years, me still struggling with different health issues. When I was 41, and I started having these vertigos, spinning. My head was spinning. I had problems with balance. And I realized that this is something serious. I still didn't know why, what it was and why it's happening. But I knew that was more than just some kind of flu. And it lasted. I would have these spells, and they would get longer and longer. So I would feel normal most of the time and had occasional spells. And gradually it switched that I hardly ever felt normal. And I lived in this prison of vertigo. Everyday activities were becoming more and more difficult. I didn't even realize that there were other symptoms or other problems were happening with my cognitive functions, brain fog, and so on. And of course, I was seeking for help. It took me 4 years to realize that no medical doctor is going to help me. And also, I discovered the monstrosity of the healthcare, sick care. And I came to a conclusion that if I was going to cure it, I will have to find a cure. And that put me on this journey of searching on internet. I think many people can relate with me. And it was at the end of 2012 when I discovered that there is something what they called Candida diet, that maybe my problems were caused by Candida overgrowth. And there was this Candida diet, which was basically non-starchy vegetables and meat with zero carbohydrates. So I went on it, and first thing that improved for me was joint problems. Something that was very painful. I had difficulties walking upstairs. I could not sit for more than 20 minutes because of the pain in my hip and my knee. When I switched on this diet, hoping that I'm gonna fix my brain, because that was really the biggest concern for me. After 4 days, I'm like, the pain in my knee is not there anymore. And 2 weeks later, I was jogging again, even though they told me that I have a torn meniscus and I'm gonna need a surgery, blah, blah, blah. That was not the truth. It wasn't. So I would have a needless knee surgery because of that. But the diet fixed it. So I found Carnivore, or so you would think. No, it took me another more than 10 years to realize that this was the way to go. At least I figured out that there is something about food that can fix me. So I dived into influencers. Back then we didn't call them influencers, but experts on diet. And if you do that, sooner or later you will end up again in juicing, plants, being vegetarian, vegan. So I thought this was the answer, even though that experience, the practical experience, was not there. So I was struggling more and more, poisoning myself with oxalates, being malnourished, and finally, at 2.5 years ago, thanks to Dr. Ken Berry and one of his videos, I realized, okay, this is what I was supposed to do. I went on Carnivore, and it took several weeks for me to realize, yes, this is the first thing that is actually helping me with my health. I'm not gonna bore you with the list of my health problems that I used to have, and most of them improved. I'm not in clear yet. There are still some things that are happening. There is some healing going on the cellular level. I do have some healing crisis, but this, I can tell that this was really the most single powerful thing in my lifestyle that helped. That's kind of my little story.
Wow, Lee. You've gone quite a journey, and with discovery upon Carnivore, and many years, and a couple of decades, going through this. What do you think? Did you have any assumption what was causing your health issues back then? Before finding out Carnivore. You mentioned the blood clots and also the vertigo. And also you had joint problems. Did you think back then it could be related to specific diet? That's why you went to vegetarian, or could it be stress, or maybe overworking out? Maybe genetics or anything like that. Did you have any assumption what was causing it before?
Well, as you probably know, and many of your listeners, desperation is a very powerful engine, and I didn't leave any rock unturned, as they say. So it could have been Lyme disease, parasites, undiagnosed diabetes, toxicity, mold. There are so many. You always, oh, this is it, or that's the amalgam fillings in your teeth, or root canals, and this kind of food, and it's your genes, and you go through all these dead end roads, and you will never, well, maybe not everybody, but it seems like I would never get the answer. But I do believe that the body has a tremendous power to repair and even compensate. So if there can be people who live with shrapnels next to their heart or in their heart, and they can still function, why wouldn't I be able to overcome, let's say, Lyme disease, right? So the body does have this power. We just need to stop poisoning it, and we just need to stop listening to that system, the sick system.
Yeah, totally agree with that. You know,
Unfortunately, we are on our own. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You know, it took me a while to wrap my head around carnivore. It also took me like 10 years. I've heard it before, like 10 years earlier, and then never give it a thought, and then later 10 years later, and then that's when I actually try it for myself, experiment. Like, did it took you a while to pretty much try it, or was there like a specific moment where you said, oh, you know what, I've tried so many diets in the past, like the Candida diet, the vegetarian, but for some reason this made a lot of sense to me? Was there like any specific to your experience that like made you see it that way?
Yeah, I had a very short period of keto diet, and it was also inspired by Dr. Ken Berry, and I'm sure you know of him, and maybe you know him directly, I don't know, personally. When I went with my girlfriend to a dinner, and back then she was vegetarian and she was reasonably healthy, and I sort of mimicked her lifestyle, hoping that I will achieve the same level of health. And we had some kind of pasta. And after that, I felt just horrible. Now I think it was not necessarily because of the carbohydrates, but more because of that seed oils that the pasta was swimming in, that I reacted to those toxic substances that they call food-like substance. But at that point I said, this was a meal full of carbohydrates. I felt really bad. Maybe I have diabetes. And so I said, well, I'm not going to a doctor. I have my experience with doctors. I need to figure out what to do for diabetes naturally or non-pharmaceutical way. And I went on YouTube, and that's where Dr. Ken Berry was talking about how he fixed his prediabetes and how he's helping with his diabetic patients by keto diet, because that video related to his keto part of his life. So I said, so I'm just gonna stop eating carbohydrates and I'll be fine. That back then it was still keto was basically, as you know, dairy product, meat, and non-starchy vegetables, avoiding carbohydrates. as much as possible, keeping it below 50 or 20 grams of carbohydrates a day. So I bought myself this cheese. In US, they call it, I think, brie, the white with the fungus. I really like the cheese, and that we went to visit my son, and I took several of these, and I thought, well, this is keto. I'm gonna eat that while I'm visiting, and I felt horrible. I had again vertigo. I could not think straight. That's how I call it. I could not think straight. So that was not the answer. So I went back to YouTube videos, and who did I see? Ken Berry again, talking about carnivore, that is the ultimate keto diet. And I already knew a little bit about keto, so said, well, this is similar, just I won't be eating vegetables and dairy, at least for now. And that's when I started seeing improvement. So there was but all that happened within 2 months or so. This recognition that keto is not enough. I need to go to carnivore. And then it took just a few weeks to know, yeah, this is it. And based on that, after a few months, I even started a Facebook group because I was so convinced, thanks to my personal experience, that carnivore has a potential to help many, many people.
Yeah. Wow. Absolutely. You know, Lee, wait, one question about it. So, yeah, before carnivore, what other things have you tried to manage like the pain or inflammation? Were you taking medications? I think like especially for joint pains, and then the blood clot. Yeah.
Well, honestly, I don't feel motivated to go too deep into those dark years because it was decades. It was decades of me being desperate, trying to find the cure, trying to find the answers, and having new symptoms that seemed unrelated. And even now, thinking about it, I feel frustrated and desperate. As I said, the brain fog was probably the biggest problem. It took me almost a year to get the courage, because I really thought that I was having a brain tumor. And took me almost a year to find the courage to go to a doctor. It was an ear, throat, nose doctor, right? ORL. And he did something good. Good. He sent me to the scan, magnetic resonance, and they said, no, you don't have a tumor. You don't have a tumor in your brain. So, okay, good. But at the same time, he said with my problems, especially with the vertigo, that he had many patients like that, and he helped every single one. So that was very optimistic. They ran some tests on me, and then I was supposed to come 1 week later for the results and for the treatment plan. And it's kind of funny. He took the papers and he was reading the papers and he said, well, your hearing is F up. There is nothing I can do with it. So what? What do you mean hearing? You did the audio test and even the technician said that for my age, I have a very good hearing. Oh, that's somebody else's paper. Somebody else's file. So he took my file and he said, oh, your vestibular system is F up. There is nothing I can do about it. So Well, at least he was honest. He didn't try to do surgery or put me on chemotherapy or something like that. So that was my experience trying to figure out what's wrong with my brain. And of course, that was not the only one, because this lives with you, right? This is with you. If you have problems just driving a car, hold conversation, and you cannot just forget it. It's just there with you every minute of your life. So this was very difficult for me. But there were some other things. I already mentioned the joint problems. There was shortness of breath, digestion problems, skin problems, vision problems, memory lapses. You probably would not find many symptoms that I didn't have. And dental problems. Yeah, I came out, well, I'm going to mention that. I used to live in South Texas at that time, and it was reasonable for us to go to Mexico for dental work. And I was there quite often. My gums were receding. I had cavities all the time. Now I have some implants. Well, actually, I have only one implant because I got rid of it. But I'm missing a lot of teeth. And it was non-stop. I would be coming to the dentist a lot over there. And since I switched to Carnivore, I don't have that. Of course, I still have the missing teeth. Surprisingly, they did not grow back. But I have no need to go to a dentist anymore. I don't have any plaque. I don't have to do cleaning. I have no tooth pain. As a matter of fact, the only tooth pain I had was over here, front tooth. I cracked the root. I knew I cracked the root about 3.5 years ago. I was eating these very hard fruits in South Texas. They call them jujubes. And I cracked the tooth, and it was painful, but I didn't want to lose the tooth. I kept it. When I ate something, when I chewed on something, it would get irritated, it would hurt, and then I would eat mushy foods again, so it would calm down, but it was bothering me. Maybe 5 months into Carnivore, I started having this pain much more intense. And I was not in a situation that I could freely go to a dentist at that time, because I'm living now in Europe, in Czech Republic. And I even to convince the dentist to do the extraction, because there was a lot of pain. Before that happened, that it fixed itself. Even though there was a fracture, obviously, in the tooth, it healed itself. So this is the experience I have with dentistry or with dental health, as far as Carnivore goes.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you have more questions.
Yeah, that's really awesome, Lee. I have the same experience going to the dentist also. And pretty much I don't go as much anymore because I don't see the need of it. And like you said, no plaque, no cavity, and then, some issue with the teeth, and then just being Carnivore fixes it. And I only go now like once a year, compared to like a couple of years back then. I used to go like 3 times a week. I mean, not 3 times a week, 3 3 times a year, and now I just go like at least once a year, just so I can say that I go to the dentist. Yeah.
Times a year, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I can share with your listeners something more practical, because mostly the story is the same. Somebody was sick, switched to carnivore, and his health is improving. And we all applaud for that, because that's amazing. It's amazing. I still do struggle. I have, and I hope you will be able to use this. Something practical, what I learned on my journey. Okay. Perhaps that may help somebody. I learned that really fixing the gut and fixing the microbiome is extremely important. Whether you are carnivore or not, or I should say, even if you are carnivore, caring for your gut and fixing the microbiome is critical. Because if you have problems with your digestion, it doesn't matter how high quality the food is, if it has all the nutrients, if you cannot digest, absorb, and assimilate, you will not get the benefits. For example, it took me a while to realize that I was still deficient in vitamin B12. Even though I was on carnivore, my digestion still was not good enough to have the B12 or to get rid of the deficiency. And it wasn't until I started doing B12 injections when I could see the difference with neuropathy and other things. Again, it's relatively easy fix. What is nice about the whole thing is that you cannot overdose on B12. So knowing that, you cannot go wrong. At the most, you are going to pee it out, but it may potentially help a lot of people with B12. On the same token, when you listen to most of the carnivore influencers, they tell you just eat till you are full, or eat as much as you want, stop when you are full. And as far as seasoning, use only salt to your taste. Well, I did that, and I believe, based on my personal observations, that I developed too much of sodium in my body and not enough potassium. And if you look into it, and there are different school of thoughts on that ratio, sodium, potassium, and how important potassium is, and what it does. There's that sodium potassium pump. Maybe some people say this is just a mechanism how to get toxic sodium from your body, that the body is pushing the potassium there instead. Some people say, oh, you need both, those are the electrolytes. I don't know, but I do know that when I switched to potassium salt, again, my energy improved, the swelling started going away, and I feel so much better after avoiding table salt. And it doesn't matter what quality it is, it's still gonna be sodium salt, and I replaced it with potassium salt. So that's my personal experience. And again, everybody's different. And we know or many of us know, there is a warning for people with bad kidneys. Don't go overboard with potassium. But so it's not gonna work for everyone, but it does for me. Also, I found out that I don't take too well eggs. I react on eggs. Pork doesn't agree with me, even though I'm gonna experiment now because of the Vitamin B1 is mostly in pork, so I'm gonna reintroduce that and see what is gonna happen. Some people say that the lion diet is the best. Again, everybody has to try on their own. Some people swear on sardine fast. I've done that too, but I realized, well, there are two problems with sardine fast. One, you need to pick what kind of sardine cans you are going to eat, because most of them are in vegetable oil, in seed oils, which is toxic. And second, if you are going to have the sardines in brine, it's full of salt, the sodium salt. So even though I believe that sardines are a good source of nutrients and very easily digestible, and it helped many people, now I see these two problems, the seed oils and the salt there. So those are the little things that I learn along the way. It's not just, oh, so I'm gonna eat meat and I'll be healthy. It may work, but you probably have to tweak it a little bit more than that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, Lee. I like that you point this out, and thank you for sharing that. I did hear about the B12 from other carnivore as well, and also using potassium salt. I think that's a new one for me. And the eggs, I had a similar experience. You know, I've been carnivore for over 2 years, and I only discovered this like after over a year. So I think we had some similarity when it comes to that. Um, Lee, so what motivates you now? Like, is it like because you're feeling good? Is it like helping people? Do you feel like you have a sense of duty to spread awareness? Are you frustrated with the current medical health guidelines, the current medical nutrition? What are your thoughts on this?
Mm-hmm. Well, this journey, my health journey, and I don't mean just carnivore, but realizing that how much misconception, brainwashing, lies, schemes is involved in health industry, and we can extend to basically everyday life. It's all based on deception in a way. So this journey helped me to start seeing it. I'm sure I don't see everything. I'm sure I replace some of the programs with different programs. This is how human nature works. But I enjoy exploring, or waking up, maybe that's another word for it, waking up from that deception, and carnivore is a big part of it. My spiritual life changed as well. I could not imagine that I would eat meat, because I used to think that every spiritual person, of course, is gonna be vegetarian, or perhaps living on prana, living from the energy of universe. So even that was a aha moment, or a waking moment for me, to realize that to become a part of this natural cycle of living and dying and eating the animals and caring for them. By the way, I have roosters and hens, which I butcher myself. Not every carnivore does that. So becoming part of this cycle is not unspiritual, is not something bad. And it took me a while to to get in terms with that. So it's a much bigger process for me. Carnivore is one of the stepping stone in this awakening process, certainly, but there is much more to it. And with this philosophy or realizing that how it really works, that things are not the way they seem, I also realized that everybody has to really cure himself. So I may try to help somebody. I may think I know how to help them. I may push my ideas or my lifestyle on people. But if that person is not ready, they cannot even hear me. I could be speaking different language. Or another thing, what am I? What am I to know to tell them what's the best for them? They are on their own journey. So I sort of, it's not that I give up on talking about carnivore. I still do. I had a lecture not too long ago. I still have the Facebook group where I post these stories. I still talk to friends. I had a circle of people who are on carnivore because of me, and I try to stay in touch with them, and I share the experiences. This is all good. One of my classmates from college, I saved him from extremely severe diabetes type 2, and he was able to go back into life and function again normally. This is all great, but again, that person has to do it. I'm open to share it, to talk about it, but selfishly, I need to focus on my health, and that's what I'm doing. And if I'm healthy, if I'm full of energy, if I'm in balance, if people see on me that I'm getting healthier, then I can share it to people who are ready for it. Other than that, it's just another opinion in this ocean of information that we live in. Like somebody said, we swim in information and we are thirsty for wisdom. And you have to be ready to hear that wisdom.
Yeah, absolutely, Lee.
Yeah.
I'm really glad to hear about your friend and you being, able to help him get pretty much bring, I guess, type 2 diabetes to remission, and and spread this word pretty much. Yeah, and also I do agree with many of the things that you mentioned about, some people are not going to be ready because it's a self-reflection. You could be it could sound like you're speaking in another language if they're not ready to hear it. So they have to really be prepared if they really want to take this on, because it's not going to be up to me. It's really going to be up to that individual if they really need something to change. Yeah. So Lee, what does a typical day or week of eating look like for you now? Do you keep it pretty consistent, or do you switch things up?
Okay. And again, I believe it's very individual. In the past, before I start carnivore, what really worked for me were fasts, extended fasts. I'm not talking intermittent fast. I'm talking 3 weeks of water fast and more. So I was basically starving most of my days, and that was the only way how I could function. So I believe in the power of fast. What happened in long term as nutrition or malnutrition, that's a different story. I think I'm paying for it now, but I do know that fasting is definitely helpful within reason. So when you listen to influencers, most of the time you are so mad, 1 meal a day, and this is way to go. I kind of listen to my body. I think OMAD, but reality is too mad, usually. So I don't have breakfast. I usually don't eat before 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I try to have my last meal before 6 in the evening. I'm quite strict. At the beginning, I still kind of played with the idea of fruits every once in a while, maybe some berries. But then I realized it's not worth it. It's not worth it. So I'm strict. It's mostly lion diet. I'm lucky that some of my relatives, they are ranchers. So I have it's not free, but I have a good source of good quality beef, also some game, deer, elk, and stuff. And I have my own chickens now. Rabbits are popular over here. Like I said, I used to avoid pork. Now I'm gonna experiment with that again. I learned how to prepare beef. I eat a lot of raw meat, beef. That's something that my body craves. It just pulls me to it. And I also have in the United States, it's not difficult to find beef liver. It's much more over here. But again, I found a way how I can source the beef liver. I eat that quite a bit. And I used to think that sometimes I would do not feel good after the liver. And I blamed what they call hypervitaminosis or something like that, too much vitamin A. I don't think that anymore. In my case, I think it was the salt. That's why I would react to too much salt that I would use in that. And so now I'm okay with beef liver, basically in unlimited amount.
Yeah. Well, Lee, that's great to hear. Yeah. So is there anything hard or difficult being carnivore for you? You know, examples of this for me would be social gatherings with family and friends, right, who are non-carnivore, and also the travel, the cravings in the beginning. It took me over a year to get it out of my system. Did you face skepticism from your friends and family? Yeah.
Okay, I understand your question. Yeah. How hard it is to stay carnivore? What are the pros and cons? I believe it is about the mindset mainly. It took me a while. I'm not saying that I had cravings and I could not go past somebody who was eating bread. No, that did not happen for me. And maybe it was because of those extended fasts. My willpower was trained that I had no problem to say, okay, I'm not going to eat that. But it took me at least a year to kind of realize, oh, hey, okay, I'm making a choice. Every time I eat something, I'm making a choice. Am I choosing to have my leg amputated or not? Am I choosing to have Alzheimer? And once you realize that every bite is this choice, is your decision you are making, then how can you choose that? How can you choose that? okay, I'm gonna have this cake, and I know that I'm gonna have my leg amputated. I know it seems absurd, but this is really how it works. This is how it works. And you can look around. So it's not that difficult to make the right choice. And I understand you cannot switch to carnivore because you are bored. You cannot do it out of boredom. Yeah? Well, it'll be nice because there are gonna be obstacles. There's gonna be the social pressure. People will be looking at you like you are crazy. Yes, once you realize things, and if you are sick enough, you are gonna make the right choice. And it doesn't matter what anybody else tells you, or oh, it's not gonna do anything for you, or don't worry. And people used to eat like that for a long time ago, and it's just talking. It's just talking. But once you know, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, Lee. I agree with that. I do get that a lot from people still. They say that it's not going to make any difference, or, this doesn't work for me. I mean, we have the same body, I'm thinking. But again, they're never going to be ready unless, they do a self reflection, or maybe if they're really in a, because everyone has a degree of desperation, especially, trying this lifestyle, unless you have a desperation or something you want to change. I think that's the initial beginning. So Lee, if you had to describe the impact of carnivore in your life, what one word would you describe it, and tell me why?
Okay, I will probably have to think about that, but I'll give you one more story. The topic it just came to me. One example that just came to me that relates to the topic we just discussed. My girlfriend has a friend who just recently got married, and she's an extremely strict vegetarian. And I can relate, because this used to be me, right? She even has her own dog on vegetarian diet. This poor dog has problems, but she is so set to that program, to the brainwashing, that she cannot even imagine eating something which is not plant-based. Yet she's trying to get pregnant, and it's not happening. And there's no way that I would be able to explain to her that the reason why she cannot get pregnant is because her hormones are messed up. She has horrible cramps. When she has her periods, it just knocks her out for several days, a lot of pain. Those are all signs of hormone imbalance. And what is the main building block for hormones? We know that cholesterol, right? So she does not. So that very well may be the reason why she cannot get pregnant. Now let's imagine she will get pregnant, and she will, and God forbid, I don't want that, but she has a handicapped child because of that. So if she knew, there is my choice, I'm gonna either stay vegetarian because this is what I believe in, or I can switch and I start eating more meat, or even switch to carnivore diet, and I will get pregnant, I will have a healthy child. Would she make that choice? Would she still be vegetarian? I don't think so. But people just cannot hear it. They will on purpose, no, this is nonsense, and they will come up with all kinds of crazy excuses and theories and justifications, and you cannot get into their head. And it's not unlikely scenario that this is the reason why she cannot get pregnant, and this may be the reason why so many children are born already malnourished, because their mothers are. Unfortunately, I'm not trying to generalize or be the smart of all, but it's not unlikely. And you said that one word, if I can put on this lifestyle, I think many people will agree if I say freedom. We know, and we can go on different levels of that freedom. I save money, that's freedom. I can eat basically anywhere I go. I can buy ground beef in a supermarket, eat it raw right there, and I'm good. It helps me, freedom from that system telling me, oh, you need to do this, and this is healthy, and you are gonna have a heart attack, and meat causes cancer. The levels of freedom for me because of that carnivore.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's actually my favorite word to describe it from time to time to other people, because like you said, it frees you from the system, and you're no longer like kind of shackled, within this what they consider as food. And then once you do this, it's like it simplifies everything for you. My whole worldview changed. It's like I'm freed from, like, what I thought was normal, the cultural norms. Like everything changed for me. I think that's a perfect way to describe it. Yeah. Lee, so knowing what you know now about carnivore, the nutrition, and so much things about this lifestyle, if you can give an advice to someone who may have had a chronic issue and they see how much success and progress you've had, but at the same time, right, they're skeptical because it's not the same thing as what their doctor is saying, what would you tell them?
Yeah, this is to me, this question has a lot of frustration already in it, because of course I have done it. Some people pick on that right away. They never look back, and even though they struggle on the way, they are doing it. Some people, they will just, oh, that sounds good, and I'm gonna start. But if they do any changes at all, they are too small for them to see the difference, usually, or they don't last long enough. So it's very difficult to have a blank advice for somebody. But I would say that it's more about learning. It's more about educating yourself, understanding what's really happening, what's ketosis, what does sugar do to you, what the seed of, why this diet is anti-inflammatory, why it's ketogenic, why you can avoid so many poisons, toxins, if you switch to this diet. So once you cannot be somebody, just write me what I should eat. I had a person like that. Just write down for me what I should eat. It's not gonna work. Or somebody would say, well, I started, we eat more of this and less of that. That's not gonna work either. because you are really still eating the same thing like you did. You go to shop, go to a grocery store, you have the same program. You are going to put the same stuff as you did a month ago, a year ago, 10 years ago, and you are not doing any change at all. I had a lady, I spent almost 2 hours. She had a lot of joint problems. She invited me, so I gave her a personal lecture about the whole thing. I spent a lot of time with her, and a couple of weeks later, I called her. So how is it going? I already started. I put honey into my coffee instead of sugar. Okay. So good luck. Good luck to you. Yes. So it's very difficult, but I would say, if I had to give a one advice, make the changes big enough so you have a chance to see a difference, and then you can adjust based on your budget, based on your situation, based on the country you live in. You can adjust, but you need to make the changes big enough to see the difference, because if you don't, you're not going to stick with it. And another thing is, and Dr. Chafee, he talks about it, the last 5% of cleaning the diet made the 90% difference. So just reducing something is not gonna do it. Elimination will.
Yeah, that's awesome, Lee. I really agree with that, because I like that you mentioned, telling someone, what to eat exactly is not going to work, because, yeah, that person has to really understand. And, telling you, eat this, eat that, eat, like, even if I give you a complete list, that's just going to, like, go through someone's head. Yeah, because they really need to understand, like, the whole concept, the whole logic of carnivore. Um, and Lee, you've been carnivore for how many years now?
Yeah, over 2.5 years. Yeah, I count myself that I started January 1st, 24. So that would be over 2.5 years. Yes.
That's awesome. What about for people who have been carnivore for over a year? Let's say they've been experiencing all the good benefits inside that 1 year, but after 1 year, they started experiencing some negatives. Maybe, like me, after over a year, I didn't even know, like, I'm this sensitive to eggs, and some people could be
Mhm.
experiencing lack of electrolytes, or maybe they're experiencing oxalate dumping and they don't know it. What can you tell them? Would you tell them to just, like, stay patient? You can adjust, tweaks, or maybe listen to another carnivore who had a similar experience? Yeah. Any thoughts on this?
Well, I'm one of those who are experiencing these problems. This is the frustrating part about it, that you see a big improvement and you think, oh, this is it. And then something happens, and every single time it's scary. Last year, I had several months of coughing blood, shortness of breath, coughing blood. And how are you gonna deal with that? Are you gonna run to a doctor and tell him or her, I'm on carnivore and this is what happened to me? It's one option, and I'm sure many people would do that, and I would not blame them at all. They would do it. I'm lucky. I have no health insurance. And I used to say, I still believe that canceling the health insurance was the best thing I have done for my health. I've done a lot of horrible things, but this was a good one. So I don't have that luxury, or no, it's not a luxury. I don't have that option of running to a doctor. So I had to trust my body. I had to trust the process, and not everybody's gonna do that. And it would go away, and I believe it was oxalate dumping, and I got back into Sally Norton book, and she described a very similar personal experience with that. She could not walk the stairs, and she said that once she switched on Carnivore, it was 6 years, the most difficult 6 years for her to get rid of all the oxalates and other damage that her lifestyle did to her body. And I understand not everybody will just be calm and happy suffering or going through that. I understand that. But we have enough places to go and share the experience and learn from other people, learn from the experts. We don't have to name them all, these influencers in this carnivore space, that we will find courage and explanation, and it happens. It happens automatically. This is how the universe works. I'll give you an example. Just a couple days ago, I realized that because of I'm taking that potassium, I should also include magnesium in that, I thought. So because I felt much better on potassium salt, but then I read, oh, don't forget magnesium. So I did the magnesium, and I started having problems at night. I had to wake up, go to pee early, the flow was weak, and I didn't know why. After that night, I'm listening to YouTube video, and one carnivore shares his story where he described identical symptoms after he started taking magnesium. So the information is waiting for you. It's there. This is how the universe works. The information is there that will explain what's happening. We just need to be aware of it, or have our eyes open and have the eyes and ears. Yes. So the bottom line is, definitely it's not easy, because the healing crisis will be happening. It may be painful. You may even end up in a hospital. And some people die. I mean, we all die, right? Some people had a heart attack on carnivore. Does it mean that carnivore is something horrible? No, but things happen. Overall, I think carnivore is the healthiest diet, and it's the foundation for health. You may have other issues. You may have toxic relationships. You may have a horrible job, night shifts. You may have toxicity in your house, mold, and so on. And those are all things that need to be addressed, sure. But it's so much easier if you do it with carnivore.
Yeah, absolutely, Lee. Yeah, I do believe the same thing, because there are so many other factors that's probably, one person could just miss. Like you talk about, like the stress, maybe the toxicity, maybe the mold in the house. There's so many other things that that could factor into someone's situation. Lee, my last question to you is your future outlook. How do you see the carnivore in the next 5 to 10 years? Do you see it being in a good or a bad light? The bad light meaning, are we going to see more censorship in the media, similar to like the COVID style censorship, or maybe meat prices are going to skyrocket, or maybe we'll get a lot of pushback from the medical community or the media. The good light, we'll hear more people talk about this because they want to hear the story of, healing, remission, improvement in health, specific diseases being, cured or
Mhm.
just getting better in general. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah. Well, I think every change encounters resistance, always. What works for us is, well, first of all, the health system must collapse, because it basically is based on we need as many sick people as possible, and we need as many healthy people who will pay for it. So that's not working, right? You need the more sick people you have, the more money you are gonna make, but the money has to come from the healthy people. And it's like that airplane, that scam. We are gonna eventually run out of healthy people, and the system's gonna collapse. So this is not the way, and more people realize that they don't go to a doctor because there's this misunderstanding. If you go to a doctor, you go there because you think he's gonna heal you. The doctors think that you come there because you wanna buy something from them. And more and more people realize that there is no answer in that system. I understand, or I agree that for trauma or stabilizing somebody, that allopathic medicine is great. But for all the chronic diseases and mental diseases and metabolic diseases, they have nothing. They have nothing. So this is one thing. It's just gonna the system doesn't. Also, there are more and more real life, what they call anecdotal evidence of patients who found their health back on Carnivore. And the third thing I see, that it's no longer underground therapy. Robert Kennedy Jr. talks about it, that he is a carnivore. He publicly, and he is quite a powerful position so people listen to it. People hear what he has to say. So it can no longer be ignored. This is just some kind of crazy idea of Atkins, and you are gonna have a heart attack later. Yeah. So I think it's just gonna
Absolutely.
it's just gonna grow, and we are witnessing that.
Yeah. I am very hopeful of the future as well, when it comes to this whole lifestyle, because I feel like more people should hear it. Yeah, that's awesome, Lee. Lee, if people want to reach out or connect with you, where's the best place to reach you?
If you can include in the footnotes my email address, and I'm gonna also give you the Facebook group. Whatever, because I'm in Czech Republic, I have a lot of posts there bilingual, Czech and English, where I share the stories of guests similar like your channel or Dave Mack's channel. For people who don't have time to listen to that 1 hour interview, I condense it, I make it into short read with all the key points, and it's in English and in Czech. So you will have that link also.
Awesome, Lee. I'm going to make sure to post both of them in the description so people can reach you. Thanks for sharing that. And also, Lee, thank you so much again for joining me. Really appreciate you sharing your journey. Appreciate you taking the time. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm glad I was able to share time and experience with you, and hopefully your channel will grow. And thank you, Joseph, for what you are doing.